warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I'm gonna start the paper first and chapter first. Actually, the first paper consists of two chapters. One is socialization and the creation of the social identity, and the second chapter is all about the method of research. So today it's page 3, the process of learning and socialization. There are so many definitions we are going to discuss. One of them are culture, roles, norms, values, belief, customs, ideology, power, and status as elements in the social construction of reality. So, basically, there are so many things which are involved in the social construction of a person's behavior or reality. So, defining society, while a society is a simple concept, we will all probably understand what is meant by Indian, Mauritian, Nigerian, or British society. It is more difficult to define. One key feature, however, is that people see themselves as having sometimes in common with others in their society, and by extension, they consider themselves to be different from people in other society. In this respect, different societies involve two types of space. Physical space is the sense of a distinctive geographical area marked by either a physical border or such as a river, or a non-physical border, perhaps made up lines that marks where one society ends and another begins. Mental space, which separates people based on the belief that they have about the similarities they share with people in their society and the differences from people in other societies. So basically, first of all, the very first term we are going to discuss is the society. Uh, the very first thing, and I keep on saying so many times whenever we talk about sociology, sociology is a subject which is from social sciences. And when we talk about the social sciences, we can't say anything for sure because we are talking about the societies, and there are so many societies in this world. So every single person who is living in a different society has different perspectives when he or she compares him or herself with other member of the society. So the very first thing we need to understand is, there are differences in societies, in culture, but still at the same time there are certain things which is considered to be universal. So whenever we talk about the sociology, it is always difficult to define as a separate identity, because there are certain things which are mixed up with each other, and there are certain things which are unique with other societies. So when talking about the societies, people normally take two different ideologies while talking to the society. So first thing which we use is the physical space. What is physical space means? And this is all about the physical aspect or the physical things which simply mark sometimes that, for instance, if, for example, if I try to understand, when we talk about Pakistan and Afghanistan, there is a line, a Durand line, which simply separates Pakistan from Afghanistan. Or one can say that there are so many mountain ranges which simply play a borderline with two different countries. So physical features, our physical spaces are there just for people to understand that they are living in different society. One can say that across this border or across this river, across this mountain range, one can say that we have a different society. But within this river, within this range of mountain, one can say that have a different society. So when people try to distinguish societies, sometimes they have physical aspects. Physical aspect means, they have some you can say, so ideology about behind this, beyond this river there's another society. Second thing is the mental space. What is the mental space? For instance, one can say that we have we are living in Pakistan, we belong to an Islamic society. Same thing we have with, for instance, in Saudi Arabia or even Iran, Iraq. They are the countries which are Muslim countries, are Islamic countries. So when we talk about the mental space, it's all about our ideology, it's all about our thinking process. For instance, if we're living in Pakistan and Islamic society, most of the people, regardless of their knowledge, they simply say if we're living in Islamic society, the things will be same as compared to another Islamic society. So this is a kind of thing. Or for instance, the people who are living in Europe, they simply consider in all the Europe they have a different, not different, they have a same kind of society. So basically there are two distinguishing features. The physical one, it's all about the borders, mountain range, or even a mark line, which makes two societies different from each other. And when we talk about the mantle, it's all about, you can say, the resemblance. What is the resemblance means? I mean, one can say that both are the Muslim countries, definitely will have the same ideology, same thinking process, same affiliation with their religion. And sometimes, apart from the similarities, one can say that it's all about, we can say that if we simply compare our society with American society, we will be very clear. I mean, we are living in Islamic society, things are entirely different as far as the Islamic society is concerned. And when we talk about the American society, things will be entirely different. So this is all about our mental capacity. It's all about our mental understanding, and when we talk about the mental understanding, it's all about the similarities or the differences we have in our mind. So it seems straightforward to define a society in terms of physical space. Mauritius occupies a certain geographic area, Nigeria another, and the India yet another. Yet in itself, this space is a mental construction. We are simply giving a particular meaning and importance to what is effectively a line on a map. Anderson describes societies as imagined communities, things that exist only in the mind. He points out that members of even the smaller nation will never know most of their fellow members, meet them, or even hear of them. Yet, in the mind of each life, the images of their communion societies are mentally constructed by geographic border that set physical boundaries. We might, for example, consider that everyone born within these borders belong to a particular society, a system of government which may involve, for example, a royal family, monarchy, parliament, and civil services, common language, customs, and tradition that people share, a sense of belonging and identification that involve developing that view that our society is different from other societies. Indian, for example, may see themselves as different from Pakistanis or Bangladeshis. So, according to Anderson, there are a couple of things we need to understand if we try to have a clear picture what the society is all about. So, very first thing about the Anderson is that most of the people either living in a small country or in a huge country, one can say that the very first thing people have in their mind is, if we are living in a same country, we are living in a same society, we have same customs, same culture, same tradition, same beliefs, same values. Most of the people consider thing when they talk about the society, if we're living in the same country, we are having the same society, and all the things we have in a society will be similar. This is the one thing. Second thing, it's all about the government. For instance, the people who are living in monarchy, for instance, so they simply consider the people are thinking of the people living in monarchy is the same, are the people who are living in a democratic society. They simply assume thus countries who has democratic customs, democratic part of government, government parliamentary form of government, they simply consider, I mean, we are living in same society. For instance, a person who is living in Germany consider British society the same, the French society the same, regardless of every differences. Third thing is the common language. I mean, for instance, we speak Urdu, we simply consider, yes, we are similar because that country or that society, the people of those society, they speak Urdu. So we simply consider language as a tool to consider, to make up our mind that we having, if we have the same language, we have the same kind of society. The last thing, it's all about the belonging or the identification that involves developing. For instance, one can say that if we simply consider the last, which actually I mentioned very first, I mean, thing when we start the chapter, it's the physical aspect. I mean, the people simply thinking, I mean, apart from this range, apart from this line, the people who are living there, and they are entirely different. So religion makes, I mean, a lot of similarities, language makes a lot of similarities, customs, and if you people are living for long in a specific country, we simply assumes that people who are living in the same country have same customs, same beliefs, and same traditions. Regardless, we simply go through in detail to understand different societies. The social construction of reality. Societies are mental constructions, therefore, their reality is socially constructed. To understand how this occur, we need to explore the concept of culture. Culture refers to a way of life that has to be taught and learned through primary and secondary socialization. We can develop this concept to understand how culture contributes to the social construction of reality. Cultures are dynamic and constantly changing. All the culture have two basic parts. Material culture involves the physical objects such as cars, phones, and books that a society produces and that reflect culture, knowledge, skills, and interest. Non material culture consists of knowledge and beliefs valued by a particular culture. This includes religion and scientific belief as well as the meanings people give to material objects. Merton suggested that objects such as car, houses, and clothes can function into two ways. They manifest functions refers to the purpose for which they exist. Clothes, for example, function to keep our warm. Their latent function, however, may be hidden. For example, a material object may function as status symbols. Owning something as a culture feeling is desirable says something about you to other. So, what is the social construction of reality? Social construction, listen, social, it's all about the society. The construction, it's all about the behavior, how your behavior, your personality will shape up while living in a society, and what are the factors which play a very key part in understanding or in shaping the behavior of an individual. So first of all, what is culture? Culture refers to a way of life. When we talk about the culture, culture is a kind of term which simply tell us how the people live in a specific area. People dress up, for instance, they use car, they use which kind of houses they like to live. So culture is basically the kind of living, and it is important to understand how people learn about their culture. So first of all, we need to understand what is social construction. Social construction is all about your personality shaping. How you know about your personality shaping? It's all about the culture. What is culture? Is all about culture is a process of learning different norms, belief, different way of lifestyle. So when we talk about the different learning, it must be converted into two learning process: primary socialization and secondary socialization. When we talk about the primary socialization, it's all about your parents, your grand family. Sometimes apart from your family, your religious doctrines. For instance, the places of worship as well. Your kindergarten. So all those play a very primal part in shaping one's personality. Just giving the foundation of your society. So this is the social construction, and normally all the culture have two different are basic parts. One is material culture. What is material culture is all about? For instance, if we talk about Muslims, we live in an Islamic society. Most of the people, they like to wear shalwar kameez on Friday. Most of the people like to wear shalwar kameez on Eid festivals. So this is called the material culture. Material culture is all about how you dress up, how you eat, which kind of food you like to eat on festivals, which kind of behavior one can see on a specific events. So this is materialistic stuff. You how which kind of car you use. So this is material culture. Second thing, we have non-material culture. Non-material culture is all about your religious beliefs, your norms, how you talk. For instance, this is one of our culture that we are supposed to keep quiet in front of our elders, in our parents. We need to give respect to ladies. This is the kind of thing which is considered to be the knowledgeable culture. It is you can say it's non-material culture. Your religious belief, your skills, your scientific knowledge, the way you people deal in different specific society, it's all about non-materialistic culture. And listen, but when we talk about the culture, according to sociologists, is simply considered culture has two meanings. One is physical, which can be seen. You can say it's tangible. We can see, for instance, you use clothes, yes, just to warm yourself up, or just to you cover your body. This is one of the basic purpose of the material culture. But at the same time, if you dress up, you are brand conscious, so obviously the things you use in a multi-purpose. First purpose is just to cover your body. Secondly is just to know, this give people a chance to understand which status, social status you belong. For instance, if you simply use J dot, Schneer, or Breezy, or stuff like that, so it means you just simply convey people that you belong to you can say a rich society, an upper class society. You use a car, for instance, you are using Alto, Meran, or something like that. So it means you simply tell people, yes, we are from a middle class family and we can't afford to have a good car. But at the same time, if you use like Land Cruiser, Lexus, or these kind of brands of car, so it means you simply convey a message. And what is the message? Yet you belong to upper class family, and this is what you have, just to make yourself a bit different from other classes. So this is the two basic, you can say, the meanings or the basic part of a culture. It's materialistic and non-materialistic. So there are certain definitions we need to understand. What is customs is all about. Custom established and accepted culture, practices, and behavior. So easy. What is culture? So culture practices is all about customs. And what is culture? The way of life of a particular group of people taught and learned through socialization. What is socialization? The process through which people learn the various forms of behavior that go with membership of a particular culture. Young people, for example, must learn the roles, norms, and the values they will need to become full members of their society. What is social construction? The idea that our perception of what is real is created through a variety of historical and cultural processes rather than something that is fixed and naturally occurring. Different societies, for example, construct male and female identities differently. So, customs, what is custom? Practices of culture is called customs. What is culture? The way of life is called culture. Socialization, it's a process of practicing culture, learning different things through socialization is socialization. What is socialization? It's all about primary and secondary, how you shape up your behavior, how you shape up your personality through learning process is socialization. And what is social construction? Social construction is a long process which simply starts by your birth and it simply lasts long till your death. And social construction is always, it's very dynamic. Obviously when you are a newborn baby, you have different kind of you can say learning process. With the passage of time you become adult, you get married, you become father, having a lot of kids, then responsibility change. So social construction is basically a long process through which you, it's a very dynamic. With the passage of time you learn so many things, changing of roles. All these things are involved in the social construction. So, uh, okay, the idea that the culture objects can have different meanings suggests that culture interaction, especially in contemporary society, is both sophisticated and complex. The more sophisticated the interaction in any society, the more open it is to misunderstanding. In order to make sure of culture interaction, therefore, we need to create common meanings and establish a structure within which behavior can happen in a predictable way. For example, a society to function, it must have order and stability. And for those to exist, people's behavior must display patterns and regularities. While cultures may develop differently, they are all constructed from same basic material, role, values, and norms. So I mean, it's always difficult to understand. I mean, what is culture is all about. You know why? Because we are belong. Our world has become a global village. We are. It's you can say that with media, social networking sites, we it's really difficult to restrict our culture because and see that, for instance, I belong to Pakistani society is simply considered to be an Islamic society, but the way we dress up, we use gadgets, we are interacting with different people of different cultures, different societies. Uh, we like to eat fast food. We use gadgets from different modern societies. The car we use, the gadget we use, the way we brought up, the schooling, the education system of our child. So there are so many things which are mixed up. So one can say that it's always difficult to define or restrict your culture because it's mixed breed to some extent. One can say that there are certain things which are fixed and we need to be, I mean, take things fixed. You know why? Certain things, because obviously we try our level best to preserve our traditions, our religious doctrines. So there are certain things on which we are very strict, try to be strict, and there are certain things which is totally beyond our control. So it's quite open, and media and the social networking sites, they play their part to change our style, change our modes of living. So this is difficult to understand or restrict your culture, but there are certain things which can make a resemblance with other societies. So I mean, it will be you can say for a comfort zone to some extent. One can say that we understand what is norms, values, and the roles. I mean, they are sometimes same. Either we're living in this part of the world or another part of the world. So there are certain things which are same, and there are certain things which are entirely different to each other. Roles, expected pattern of behavior expected with each position when we hold, such as being a friend, student, or a teacher role. See that I'm a teacher, so I have a different role. Being as a father, I have a different role. Being as a teacher, I have a different role. Being as a son, I have a different role. So roles are basically the set patterns. I mean, what should be done by an individual while performing in a different role. Values, beliefs are ideas that are important to the people which hold them. A value always expresses a belief about how something should be. So what are the values? Values are very close when you say it's all about the beliefs, and values, or you can say to some extent, can reflect a religious you can say, no, most of the time when we talk about religion is playing a cohesive force. When we're living in a same society, we are living in same Islamic society, so our religion is considered to be the cohesive force which joins most of the people together, because we have a belief. We simply we have a strong belief that there is one God. We believe the last prophet is Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have a belief that Quran is the guiding star. Whatever we want to get, if we want to get guidance, the Quran is the best source. So there are so many things which are the same. So these beliefs are the values make us together strongly. Norms, socially acceptable ways of behaving in different roles. I mean, norms are the kind of thing which can simply change according to the will. For instance, one of the norms, you can say that just give respect to your elders, give respect to ladies. For instance, when we are in a van, in a train, we simply give respect. Like ladies first is one of the things which is considered to be the norms. So we talk about in detail what our roles are all about. Roles are the building block of a culture of two reasons. They are always played in relation to other roles. For someone to play the role of a teacher, for example, other must play the role of student. Roles contribute to the creation of culture because they demand both social interaction. People have to cooperate to successfully perform certain tasks that the people are aware of them. In this respect, roles help individuals develop the ability to form groups and communities. This is particularly the case when they involve role sets. That is, when the role involve a set of different relationship with different type of people, such as doctors relationship with patient, nurses, other doctors, patient, relative, and so on. This adds a further dimension to the culture framework because it locks people into a range of relationship, each with its own routines and responsibilities. So every role has a name or a label. The name identify a particular role and carries with it a sense of how people are expected to behave in any situation. So very first thing is all about the roles. What are the roles is all about? See that when we talk about the roles, as I mentioned earlier, it's all about the set of different things we need to understand. What we need to understand is that, for instance, I'm a teacher. Roles are the primal part, are the basic, are the building block of a person's behavior. You know why? See, behavior shape up all the time when we interact with other people. For instance, if I simply isolate myself at my home, I am not able to understand what his behavior is all about, because unless until I am not in interacting with other people, I'm not able to learn things. For instance, so this is important to understand. Behavior is always two-way traffic. For instance, if I'm playing a part as I'm playing role as a teacher, so obviously when I'm a teacher, I become teacher when I have students. If I not start teaching, if I start teaching somebody, so then there is a relationship between a teacher and a student. If I simply learning and learning and learning and I'm not share what I have learned in my past life, I can't become a teacher. The same is the case. For instance, a woman becomes mother when she has kids. So unless until she doesn't have a kid, you can't name that lady a mother. So in roles, you need to understand one thing. First thing, it's all about the interaction. Interaction, it's all about two-way traffic. Once we need to understand, you're a teacher, there must be students. You're a doctor, unless until you start giving treatment to home, to patient, you not become a doctor. So two-way traffic, you need to understand. Second thing which we contribute in role is the naming or the labeling. I simply label myself as a teacher. So as I become a teacher, obviously there must be some people, I give them the label of student. So it is important to understand what is role. Roles is labeling of a specific status, and secondly, it's all about the interaction. And it's all about the interaction, one can say that's all about the learning of different behaviors. What is values? These common expectations provide a sense of order and predictability, because role play is guided by behavioral roles in two ways. All roles have a prescribed aspect based on beliefs how people should behave. Playing role is governed by values that provide general behavioral guidelines. A teacher should teach their students students. A parent should care for children. and so on. Values provide only broad guidance for role behavior. For example, it is understood that someone playing the role of teacher should teach, but values do not tell them how to play this role. The specific behavioral guide that tell people how to successfully play a role are known as norms. So again, in values we got two things. First of all, what is values? Values is basically roles have a prescribed things, values. See that if we keep on practicing something for a long time, then it becomes a value. For our religious beliefs are a value. For instance, if I become a teacher, there are certain values, there are certain things which are a part of a role. I need to teach my students with full devotion. I need to be workaholic. I need to be loyal to my students. This is the characteristics. These are the things which are imbibed with my role. So basically, when we talk about the values, in values we need to understand two things. First of all, values are linked up with the set patterns. I mean, values are basically the set patterns you need to follow when I am performing a specific role. So, role is the label basically. I'm a teacher. So, how a teacher should behave, it's all about the values. So, a person who is behaving properly or who is, giving values, it means that we need to understand that if I'm performing certain role, so what should I do and what should be written, what is recommended, is all about the values which is written or which is having a role has a specific framework. This framework is called values. It's easy to understand in that way. One thing. Second thing is that details, are always there. I mean, we need to understand, for instance, specific things are there, specific recommendations are there. A teacher should behave like this is a values. But if we want to go in detail and we need to learn things according to societies, then the rules are connected with norms. When you try to understand, see that one thing which is fixed. For instance, I'm Muslim. I belong to a Muslim society. I belong to a Muslim family. So I have specific values which are the beliefs, or which are the part of our religious doctrine. So if I'm playing a part, I'm playing a role, I need to follow certain things which I need to follow because I'm a Muslim. I belong to a Muslim community. So there are certain values which are connected with our roles. So this is the values are all about and the roles are. But if, for instance, there are certain things which are universal, or there are certain things which are specific to the geographical features, these are things which are, you can say, changeable with the time, and time is called norms. Norms are specific rules showing how people should act in a particular situation, whereas values give only a general idea. Norms, therefore, are rules used to perform roles predictable and acceptable. This is important according to Merton, because without order and predictability, behavior becomes risky and confusion. He used the term anomy to describe a condition where people who fail to understand the norms operating in a particular situation react in a range of ways, from confusion to anger to fear. So anomy, according to Merton, is all about a situation in which people are unable to predict the behavior of other because the system of norms and values is not being followed. So norms, or you can say that there's a term anomy which is given by Merton. And what is anomy? It's all about if a person is uh, un, is unprecedented, acting something. So one can say that he is the one who is anomy, because we are not able to understand which kind of rules or which kind of values are the norms the person is following. So Goffman argues that norms are more open to interpretation and negotiation than either roles are the values. This means that they can quickly adapt it to change in the social environment. There are many ways to perform a teaching role depending on a range of personal and cultural factors, including the behavior of those in teachers' role set. So see that now. I just give you a very clear picture. First of all, you need to understand role. It's the labeling, and it's all about the behavioral interaction. This is role. When we talk about the values, values are all about it's all about the specific set of rules which are imbibed with your religious doctrines or your beliefs. So the more open, the more predictable, more versatile things which are connected in the role playing is the norms. Norms are changeable. For instance, I'm a teacher, right? So I should work honestly. This is the kind of thing I have in values. But for instance, if I'm teaching, you can say, a student who is below the mark, so I need to do certain things. I need to change different uh, style of teaching. I need to change my style. Why change my style? For instance, one thing. Second thing, for instance, I'm teaching girls. I need to be a bit different as compared when I'm teaching to boys. So this is called norms. I mean, I need to change according to situation. Is all about the norms. And beliefs. What is beliefs is all about? The beliefs, roles, values, and norms provide an important framework with which relationship can be ordered and made mainly predictable. A further layer of culture structuring involve beliefs. These are important, deep-rooted ideas that shape our values and are in some respect shaped by them. While all the values express a belief, beliefs do not necessarily express a value. There are more general behavioral guidelines that include ideas, opinion, views, and attitudes. They may or may not be true. That what matter is that they are believed to be true. Beliefs in contemporary societies are many and varied, but they perform a significant structuring role while when combined with ideologies such as discussed later in the chapter. So beliefs are basically, you can say that it's a set of rules which are normally considered to be true, regardless of their realities. For instance, I have a true belief that there is a life hereafter. I truly believe, but I don't have proof for that. There must be the good person will be sent to heavens. Are in Jannah. So I have a true belief on that. Quran is the last book of Allah, the last holy scripture. I have a true belief on that. So beliefs are basically stagnant. And it is possible when you say that beliefs are stagnant, they are not dynamic. So one can say that so beliefs are to bit in contemporary societies. It is difficult to understand because, for instance, my beliefs are important for my personality. Are this piece of land is important because we belong to to Islamic society. So according to Islam, we have certain beliefs to follow, but it is not important, not necessary for the people who are living in UK or in USA or even in India, our neighboring country, to have the same belief. So beliefs are doctrines, to some extent the cohesive for within a specific part of the world, but it is not necessarily believed that you have certain beliefs to follow. So this is we have for today's lecture. In my next lecture, I will inshallah ta'ala tell you something about how important it is for the socialization uh, to what is basically the nurturing and the nature debate. In my next chapter, inshallah, we will discuss about that. Till then, fi aman Allah, and take great care of yourself. Good Hafiz.